Okay, we're about to head into the 1990s on our chronological walk through the movies and adaptations of Stephen King's work. But before we do that, and to give me a bit of time to prepare for that new decade, let's do a ranking, our first movie ranking of our journey so far. Here is my countdown of Stephen King movies from the 1970s and 1980s, ranked. Hi everyone, I'm Dave Musson at Dave Musson on Instagram. Welcome to my channel. This is where I talk to you about all things Stephen King. Now you won't know this, I'm going to give you a peek behind the curtain. I've already recorded this video once, but my fucking thing didn't record. So I'm doing it again. So I have literally already just done this. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but in case it feels like I'm rushing through, or maybe I could have done a better take elsewhere. I probably did do a better take elsewhere, just when I recorded it last time and forgot to push record. Anyway, this is a ranking. I'm counting down my 1970s and 1980s Stephen King movie preferences, and I'm going to do it in a spoiler-free way, and I'll tell you a bit more about it in a moment. But first, some things for me to plug. I'm going to keep this really short because everything you need to know is in the description, and if you're interested enough, you will check it out. But basically, there's the quiz book I wrote. You can buy that. I have a newsletter that goes every week. You get some free stories from me just for signing up. Links in the bottom. I do a podcast with indie horror authors called Constant Writers. It's really good. It's a chance for you to discover some upcoming talent. And lastly, I'm on Letterboxd. Links below. Come and find me. I'll follow you back. Let's swap movie recommendations. Okay? So last time out was 1989's Pet Sematary, which rounded off the 1980s. And of course, by nature of how time works, we've already rounded off the 1970s as well. So I thought it was a good time to do a ranking. We've not done a movie ranking yet. So let's jump into it. So this is my countdown of Stephen King movies from the 1970s and 1980s. It's not an attempt to be the perfect definitive list because all these lists are subjective, so that can't happen. But this is my countdown. Let me know your preferences in the comments though. I'd love to hear them and see how they differ from mine. Now, as I think I've already mentioned, this is going to be spoiler free, so you can watch the whole thing and nothing will be ruined for you. And if you want to see my full 19 reasons to watch any of these movies, click around my channel. They're all there. They're all waiting to be watched. Now, by my count, we've got 17 movies to go through from the 70s and 80s. So 17 being my least favourite, 1 obviously being my most favourite. Let's jump into it. Here's my spoiler-free ranking of 1970s and 1980s Stephen King movies. Just checking this is still fucking recording. Yeah, boy. At 17, A Return to Salem's Lot. Unnecessary, unwanted, and genuinely bad. No thank you, fuck off. And then fuck off some more. At 16, Children of the Corn. Granted, some great moments, but surrounded by an awful lot of guff. And this has an awful lot to answer for, because this movie seems to have made it okay for lots of bad sequels to be spawned out of Stephen King movies. Shame on you. Outlander! So 15, Silver Bullet. With a bit more thought, a bit more effort, and a less shit wolf costume, this could have been iconic and way higher up the list. As it happens, it just didn't really stick, despite having a great cast who put in some great performances. Shame. At 14, The Running Man. Now, much as I love Arnie movies, I really do love Arnie movies, this just doesn't feel like a King movie, and doesn't really bear any resemblance to the book either. A great movie though, you'll have a good time watching it, but this is as high as I can justify putting it in this particular list. At 13, Maximum Overdrive. So actually this fared a lot better on rewatch than I thought it might, and I had a lot of fun watching it, and I think you will too, but basically I like everything above it on this list a lot more, so this is as high as it can go. But yeah, you will have a good time with this. It is fun. So at 12, Salem's Lot. No real issues from me at all about this. There are just 11 things from these two decades that I prefer to it. And when this one is at its best and its scariest, it is absolutely iconic, but there is also quite a lot of filler, at least in my opinion. So 11, Firestarter. Mid-tier ranking for a mid-tier movie of a mid-tier book. At least for me. The Fire lifts this up a couple of places, as do the performances of Drew Barrymore and David Keith. But otherwise, yeah, it probably could have been better. Although this is better, in my opinion, than the remake, which we'll get to in a couple of years. So at 10, Creepshow 2. Now, if all of the stories in this were as good as The Raft, we'd probably be looking at a top 5 movie here. But they weren't, so we're not. However, super camp, super fun, super silly, great special effects. You will have a great time with this. Moments of it are absolutely iconic. It's good, okay? At 9, Cat's Eye. Seems we're in the anthology section here, so let's ride it. The final story lets this one down, but Quitters Inc. and The Ledge are absolutely sensational. Yeah, another fun one. You're not going to have a bad time with this movie, okay? At 8, Creepshow. Yep, we're definitely in the anthologies section. And we're now at the point where basically everything else on this list we can use the word iconic. So we'll try and refrain from using the word iconic, although I probably will still keep using the word iconic. Anyway, Creepshow, really good. Some real highlights. In particular, King as Geordie Verrill, which my very talented friend Emily immortalised for me as a tree ornament, and of course the entirety of the crate section and most of the rest of the film, to be honest. It's Creepshow. I mean, what else do you want me to say? So at 7, The Shining. Now, undoubtedly one of the most horrifying, terrifying, scary fucking films ever made, but also flawed as a Stephen King adaptation, and that's what I'm interested in this list. So much as I love The Shining, this is as high as it goes for me, because this movie and the book it's supposed to be an adaptation of feel like not just different beasts, but different universes. So yeah, that's as high as The Shining goes for me. At 6, Cujo. Now, the performance from Dee Wallace in this deserved an Oscar. The fucking dogs deserved an Oscar. And this movie is relentless and claustrophobic. It will get its claws into you and hook you for its entire runtime. It is wonderful. So at 5, Christine. The car, the soundtrack, the 3 main human characters, everything here is firing on all cylinders. A really impressive piece of cinema, particularly how quickly it came after the book. This was rolled through the production line, and yet the quality is there all the way through. For me, it's a movie that should never be remade, and it is bad to the bone, baby. Okay, at 4, Carrie, and we are now at the point where we are talking top fire. We are now at the... Okay, at 4, Carrie, and we're now at the point where we're talking top tier, 5-star films all the way in from here in. I mean, this is Brian De Palma's Carrie. It's an icon of cinema, not just horror cinema. It is a staple of pop culture. It is something that has been and continues to be hugely influential, and is just a wonderful film. At 3, The Dead Zone. So my favourite Stephen King book spawned one of my favourite movies, which doesn't always happen for people, so I'm very happy about it. Christopher Walken as Johnny Smith on paper should not work, and yet he delivers one of the best performances I've ever seen him put in. And Martin Sheen as Greg Stilson is terrifying. At 2, Pet Sematary. Yep, that underrated tale of the Creed family up in Ludlow, Maine, and all the bad things that happened to them is second on my list. I've literally just talked about this only last week, so do go and check out my reasons. But in a nutshell, a pretty perfect adaptation of a harrowing, beautiful, and terrifying story. Which of course means that my number 1 is Stand By Me. But you knew that already, right? This is a perfect coming of age movie that underlines everything I love about Stephen King's writing. The core 4 cast of characters are perfectly drawn, and their translation onto screen is wonderful because the cast that plays them are just all hideously, supremely talented. Their performances that Rob Reiner got out of them and that they delivered are sensational. The colour palette, the rich tones, the warm hug that this gives you is just so lush. It's just perfect. And it's all done in 80 minutes as well, because movies don't need to be fucking 2.5 hours long to hit you right in the heart and live with you for the rest of your life. This is just a fucking sensational movie, and yeah, nothing was ever going to come close to taking it off the number 1 spot, frankly. So there we go, that's all of my rankings for you, 1970s and 1980s Stephen King movies. But let me know your rankings, because that was just mine. Tell me your choices, let me know how you differ from mine. I love to hear other people's rankings. Other things you can do, hit me up on Instagram. I'm at Dave Musson. Hit me up on Letterboxd. My link's below. You can get my quiz book. You can sign up to my newsletter. You can listen to the Constant Writers podcast. Hey, do all of those things. Do any of those things. Do none of those things if you want to. Whatever. They're there waiting for you. If you've got some time to kill, hey, give them a try. Now, next up, we're done with this ranking, and we've got a book special coming up. But actually, it's the first of 2 book specials this month. So I hope you like that. I'll see you then.